Bridgette with PotomacBeads.com. Join me today as we create these fun sunflower components here, just using some of our StormDuo beads, Rivolis, and 15-0 seed beads. If you do need any of the materials, they were listed at the beginning of the video, as well as below me in the description area. You'll find links to both PotomacBeads.com and PotomacBeads.eu, and there you'll find your whole list of materials as well as exact colors that I used in this video. So gather up your materials and come create with me. So for the first step of making our sunflower component, I already have my StormDuos and my 15-0s strung on, and I have 16 altogether with a 15-0 in between each one. Now this next step is not necessarily necessary, but it is one that I want to make sure I'm doing because I'm using the Crystal Etched Sunset. So I want to put a little light layer of permalac on here. If you haven't used permalac yet, it is just a clear coating that kind of looks like a nail polish, but it's a very thin clear coating that just helps protect the finish. So I'm just going to brush on a little bit. And you know, if you're not using a finish that will rub off, you don't have to worry about it. Like for example, my lava red here for my poppy, I didn't need to put any permalac on there. But again, with the etched finish, sometimes that will end up rubbing off a little bit the more I wear it or the more I'm using it. So I do want to make sure that I have that on there. Again, it's not necessarily. If you want to skip it, you are more than welcome to. So once you have those 16 on, we're just going to tie a knot. So just kind of let your StormDuos kind of fall towards the end, and we'll just tie a regular knot just right over left and left over right, just so we get that circle going. And so from here, you can see we have our circle, which is where we will put our Rivoli for the middle of our sunset, or our sunflower, and that'll kind of fit right in there. So our next step here, we're gonna start making our netting. So if I bring over my poppy here, you can see we have the netting on the back side. So I'm gonna start by picking up 13 of my 15s. And we'll make our way around our sunflower to create that netting that'll hold in our Rivoli. So coming out of my StormDuo, I'm just going to skip over 2 StormDuos and go into the third one. So skipping over 2 and going in that third one. And I'm also going to come out, I'm going to go through that very next StormDuo as well. So we have our loop of 13 seed beads here. I'm going into my third StormDuo and coming out of that very next one. And here I'll do another loop of 13. And again, we'll skip over the next 2, go through the third one, and then come out of the one next to that third StormDuo. And we'll just continue this all the way around until we have our full netting. So again, we have our 13 15s. I'm skipping over 2, going through that third one, and coming out of the one that's just next to that third one. So keep going with this until we have our loops all the way around our sunflower base. Once you have all your loops, you should have 4 here. So it'll look kind of a little funny for right now, but you should have your 4 loops, and we're gonna go up into that first loop. So I'm coming out of that last StormDuo right now, and I'm gonna go into the first loop that I made, and I'm going to go up into the middle 15-0. So since we added 13, I'm going to go up through and come out of the 7th 15. So let's just double count and make sure I go out the correct one. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you're going to come out of that 7th 15. And here we're going to add on 3 15s and go through the 7th 15 in our second loop. So just through that single bead. And at this point, we don't need to pull it super tight as we're going along, because we do want to make sure that our Rivoli, we can still put our Rivoli in there. So you can just kind of keep adding these on, and then we'll pull tight all the way at the end. So again, picking up 3 15s, we're going to go through that middle bead, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just that single bead. And we'll do this all the way around until we get back to where we started. So here I just completed my circle, and I'm coming out of that very first middle bead that we started with. So if I pulled this, we would pull this all together. So I want to make sure to put my Rivoli in first, and then you can go ahead and pull that tight. You can just kind of pinch it so that your Rivoli kind of stays in place. And we'll go around that. I know it's kind of black on black, so it's a little hard to see, but we'll go around that circle that we just made just 1 or 2 times, just so that we know that it's tight. So just retracing your steps through those 3 beads that we added on each side and through that center bead on our loops. So just kind of go around and pull tight as you're going. And then we'll just make sure that our Rivoli is nice and secure in there. All right, so once you're there, it should look a little like this. Your Rivoli's kind of netted in on the back side there. So from here, you'll just pick any side, so just any one of your loops, and you're just gonna retrace your steps until you back up towards the StormDuos. So I'm just going to go around until I'm at one of my loops, and I'm going to make my way down through just one of those sides. And I'm going to go through that first StormDuo that those 15s are connected to. So there we have for that step. So now that we're coming out of that StormDuo, we're going to jump up into our second row. So we're going to work on our second row of our petals here. So just jumping up into that second hole. I'm going to start adding on my StormDuos. And on this one, you still want to make sure that your StormDuos are facing the same direction as you're putting them on. And you'll notice that if you are kind of stringing them the wrong direction, let me just show you real quick. You'll be able to tell pretty quickly if they're not facing the same way. So when you string them and they're facing separate ways, they'll kind of make this V shape. So you'll notice right away if you do pick it up the opposite direction. So just restring it and add it on the correct way. So now we're just going to go through, and just between each one of our StormDuos, we're just going to pick up another one until we have that second row all the way around. So this step is pretty simple. We're not adding anything on except for that extra StormDuo. And then once we get this row completed, we'll go ahead and add on those seed beads that'll be in between each little petal there. So just keep going with this until you reach where you started, and then we'll go into our next step. Once you have your second row of StormDuos on, we're going to go ahead and start adding on our 15s around the outer edges. So here I'm coming out of that top hole on one of my StormDuos at the bottom, and I'm going to add on 3 of my 15s and jump up into that second hole of that second StormDuo. So we're just going to be going between using the second holes of each of the StormDuos. So the very top hole of the outer StormDuo, and then the top hole on that first row of StormDuos. So coming out of our top StormDuo, I'm going to add 3 more of my 15s. And I'm going to jump down into that top hole in the first row. And from there, I'm going to add another 3 15s. So we're just kind of adding and working that kind of outline of our StormDuos. So again, adding 3 of our 15s and going up into that top hole of our next StormDuo, adding 3 more 15s, and jumping down into that top hole of the first row StormDuo. So just kind of going back and forth until we have our full sunflower done. Again, just 3 15s, jumping up to that top hole of our outer StormDuo. And again, 3 15s, jumping down to that top hole of our first row of StormDuos. So just continue this until you have all of your StormDuos outlined, and then I'll show you how to finish up. So once you have all your seed beads around your outer edge, you can go ahead and just tie off your thread. It doesn't matter where you do it. Here I'm coming out of that StormDuo up top, so I'm just gonna feed my needle through and back and just tie it there, so it's a little bit hidden. And then we can just go ahead and trim off the rest of your thread. So I'm just going to use my thread burner and just burn down the rest of that. So here we have our sunflower. Again, this is using the Crystal Etched Sunset. I also have a poppy that I did, and that one's with the lava red. So you can do a lot of different ones. I do have one with the metal StormDuos as well. So there's a lot of different things you can do. My idea is probably to cluster them up, and I'll probably go ahead and make a necklace somehow with all of these clustered. You also could easily attach an ear wire just off of maybe a wire guard and have cute little earrings. I was also thinking maybe a button shank and doing a button, or you can do a pin back so you can wear it as a brooch. So there really are a lot of different things that you can do with this component. You could even just do it as the middle of a bracelet and add on some leather or something around the outside. So I hope you guys have fun with this component. I'd love to see all the different ideas you all come up with and see what you are going to make with these components. Thank you for joining me in creating these fun sunflower components. Remember, if you do need any of the materials, go ahead and click on those links below me in the description area. Those will take you to PotomacBeads.com and PotomacBeads.eu, where you'll find exact materials that I used today. And go ahead and click on that bell button that's below me as well if you want to be kept up to date with any new tutorials or videos we have out for you. And as always, I love to hear from you, so I'd love to see some comments below of how these inspired your own and what you're making with them, whether it be earrings or necklace or bracelet. I'd love to see some inspiration from your own bead board.